Hello there, Dan the Weatherman here. Hey, welcome to my weather show. This is the global edition, taking a look at things going on around the world. And of course, now in the Northern Hemisphere, old man winter, he's getting ready for business. Really brings some cold, some snow, and we're really seeing a lot of oomph in the atmosphere in the North Pacific. This is the wide Himawari satellite. You can just see all these surges of wet weather and weather systems barreling with some good jet stream across the Northern Pacific. Contrast of temperature. Cold coming out of Siberia. You've got good warmth there. That brings to life. And that's really kicking the jet stream, almost fuel injecting it across the Northern Hemisphere. Something tropical perhaps developing to the west of Guam. That it may churn its way through in the coming days. And further south, big red blob there, Australia. The heat is really starting to crank. And we could bring the tropics to life as well over parts of really the Southwest Pacific this week. First off though, the Northern Hemisphere, the big lump of cold, think of it like a big layer of treacle. You pour it out on a plate and unless you put a ring round it, it just sort of spews off the edges, and that's what is our lump of purple. Cold air. It's been very cold. The polar vortex has slightly shifted. It's been sitting over Alaska. Alaska some 10-20 degrees colder than normal this week. Where you see that purple, that's just bone-chilling stuff. And we've had the cold blast as well, all the way down to the British Isles, all the way down to parts of really almost the Mediterranean. Cold air too. That's been sitting there across eastern parts of Canada. But wherever you get cold, you have to sort of squeeze in the other side of that layer of treacle. You do get some warmth. We've had that warmth there surging across parts of the central Atlantic. So southern parts of Greenland, if you can believe it, have been very, very warm. Warm to the western parts of the US, down towards the desert southwest of, the US. There's been some 70s, even 80s Fahrenheit. There's your plunge. Remember that energy I mentioned in the North Pacific? Where you see that red, that's just some good speed. And when you get that, you just get Mother Nature taking the old jet stream and woo, like a skipping rope. It really just brings it to life. Surge of cold, that's parts of Europe, that's Eastern North America. There's your warmth. So what's going to happen this week? Well, the wiggles are going to move about, as they do, but with this energy here, that's going to continue to churn its way through. Watch where the wiggles will go. This particular one here will shift. That's going to push it, but it's a big mountain of warm air here. Watch what happens over the course of the week. It does eventually get cooler over western parts of the US. That surge of warmth will go through. So what was the cold across parts of Western Europe, that is replaced by air from the Atlantic, not as cold. Look at that. Boom. Cold air surging its way down across parts of the central US. They'll have a real seesaw ride as far as temperatures, but that will be a cold blast. That could be some more snow working in. So up and down, it's really into winter as they go through. And you can see it with the colors too. Warmer than normal, and there have been some spots where the temperatures have just been like up and down. We've seen that across southern Siberia, 20-degree swings. We've seen that as well across Greenland. Notice that warmth there as well. We could also see temperatures in the 70s creeping pretty far north into parts of the US, in towards parts of the upper plains this week. There's your blue, colder than normal. Alaska, remember that? That's going to start surging its way south through the week. The blue, the cold air that's been there across parts of Western Europe, that will ease, slide away, but there'll be more cold coming too. And look at that, surging down through the course of the week, that cold air coming slowly into western parts of the US. And speaking of cold for a time to parts of western South Africa, but the heat starts to really kick in to western parts of Australia. We could be seeing some mid to upper 30s getting close to places like Perth over the week. So North America, the US, cold, blue line, snow on that side, milder there, there's a low. These have been some snowstorms. The Great Lakes into the northeast of the US, and you know, we're seeing more rain piling in with, of course, that Pineapple Express in towards parts of British Columbia, the Pacific Northwest, where we don't need any more. That will continue. There'll be surges continuing. The mountain of warm air, that's causing all the wet weather to go there. These snowstorms will slide through the Great Lakes. Bit of a breather. And then remember, this thing is going to go vroom, straight down. Watch what happens to that blue line over the course of the week. It slowly starts to sink its way south as this surge of cold moves through. But certainly, they'll be digging out those extra layers and keeping them in place. To Europe, that cold that's been there, that will more or less slowly ease as the warmer Atlantic air pushes through. But it's brief, because that comes through with then another cooler northwest surge going through the middle part of the week, then another one, so it's sort of seesaw rides, but eventually the Atlantic air and just blustery kind of yuck weather over western parts of Europe. It is the time of year. How about some warmth? We head down under, and real warmth, that is certainly the case across parts of Australia. You've got high pressure here, a low, and just lots of high pressure, and that's keeping things pretty chilled out. There's been low pressure there to the western parts of New Zealand in the Tasman Sea. That's been bringing a surge of some wet weather, but this guy's trying to come in. It's meeting a big upper ridge, so it just fades away. At the same time, as the high slides through, you follow the arrows. Where's the warm air going? It's dragging its way from the Northern Territory right the way to Western Australia. That'll be a surge of warmth well into the 30s from Western Australia right the way down to South Australia over the course of the weekend. Elsewhere, looking pretty good too. That's the weather for now.